Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the S24 Plus, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, and see how it holds up against the Samsung Galaxy S23 Plus, and see if it's worth it to go and upgrade from your S23 Plus to your S24 Plus. Now, some big things to keep in mind here for the most part. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is that with your particular device, you are basically going to be experiencing most potentially a better device on the S24 Plus. We kind of all know this. But if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, starting off with the S23 Plus actually, you're getting a 6.6-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's a very, very good panel. I think this type of panel looks very good. And for one, I'm a massive fan of the way this type of phone has basically held up. It's a very good display. 1750 nits of brightness. It's a 1080p display, 120Hz, and it's easily one of the better displays you can probably buy on most phones nowadays. On the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus though, this is actually a pretty good improvement coming from the S23 Plus. So it's a slightly bigger display, and I love Samsung because they always just mix and match the display. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's a little smaller. For this particular phone, you're actually getting one that's a little bit bigger. So it's a 6.7-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. So a slightly different technology on that display. It's still, 120Hz, which is amazing, but they've increased the resolution. So now this panel is 1440p, which is really cool. And on top of that, it is, it got a massive increase in the nits of brightness. So it's a much brighter display at that as well, which is another pretty big advantage. So if you were buying something like the iPhone, so if you're buying something like the Samsung Galaxy, S23 Plus, you're going to be getting a display that's maybe not as good as the S24 Plus. And the S24 Plus is a better display in every single way this particular year than the previous device. So keep that in mind. The S23 Plus is still perfectly fine, but you're definitely getting a better display, in my opinion, on the S24 Plus than the S23 Plus. On top of that, you're getting USB Type-C ports on both of these devices, which is very cool to have. I love USB-C, and both of these support Samsung DeX, so you have a lot of capability from that perspective as well on both these devices, which again is a very cool thing to have. And once again, for one, I'm a massive fan of these devices from that perspective, so that definitely gets a thumbs up for me for sure from that perspective as well. Now on the back side, you're basically getting, actually not even on the back side, on the sides of these phones, with the S23 Plus, this phone had a little bit of a curve to it, meaning that if you kind of held it in your hand, you would kind of notice that it was a little bit of a curved, type of side on this phone, which felt really good. I was a fan of the way this phone felt from that perspective too. So it was another really cool thing. With the S24 Plus now, this phone actually is now completely flat on the sides. So it gives it pretty much the same impression as something like an iPhone, which is actually pretty insane. Mostly how most iPhones now are completely flat. This phone is also completely flat on the sides too, which is pretty insane. And you never expect that from this type of device, but it's a pretty crazy thing that's going on here. It feels completely different than it felt before, which again is super crazy to me. So from the sides, that kind of covers it up there too. On top of that, on the backside, frosted glass backs on both of these devices, which again is genuinely very cool. Having a frosted glass back is very awesome, and I love having that type of capability once again on these types of devices. They feel so premium, they feel so great in the hand, and once again, that's one of my most favorite things going on for this particular phone are these frosted glass backs. They have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, triple camera setup on the backside as well. And overall, they're very good phones. I love these phones a lot. They have a ton of capability. And if you're comparing at least the outside, really the only differences you're going to see is with its display. Other than that, you're really not going to notice too many differences as far as I can tell. Now, on top of that, from the camera side of things, these phones have very, very good cameras. And I'll be honest, I don't really think there was a massive change from last year's cameras to this year's cameras. So for one, you're getting triple camera setups on the back of both of these. So 50 megapixel wide, 10 megapixel telephoto, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera as well. So from that perspective, they're basically the same type of camera on the back. And on the front, you're also getting 12 megapixel cameras on the front side. Now you can do 4K 60 on the front and the back, but you can also do 8K capability on the back of both these phones. So they really didn't change too much here. It's almost the same type of camera. The only thing that they did kind of mention with the camera here, for the most part as far as I can tell, is that you are getting one probably more AI features built in, but you're also getting a camera on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus that is essentially giving you, from what I know, the same type of camera, that you're getting in your camera app. You're basically getting inside of your Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok applications. So that's a pretty big feature right there. Again, we're going to have to test this out. There's still a little bit of glitchiness going on. And I've heard Samsung say this before. This is not the first time they've claimed something like this. I think the S22, they did say the same thing as well. Even probably before before that, but that's still something they need to kind of improve on. We're going to once again have to wait and see what happens here. But in my personal opinion, it's a good thing. I like when these cameras get improvements in the software department more so than even sometimes in the hardware department. So once again, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But from that perspective, the cameras are both very good, but I really don't think it's that big of an upgrade or change this year, to be completely honest. Now from the software side, you're going to be getting a long supported software on both of these. They're still going to be supported for many years, but the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus is going to, last substantially longer than the Galaxy S23 Plus. With the S23 Plus, it's probably getting 4 years of security and software updates. With the S24 Plus, you're getting software and security updates for 7 years. That is insane. Imagine having this type of phone that's going to be giving you that type of capability for that long. That's genuinely super crazy to me, and that in and of itself is going to be one of the biggest advantages of buying something like the Galaxy S24 Plus. Being able to buy a phone that has that much capability and that much power, I would say, for that long is going to be very awesome. And that has been notoriously one of my most complained about things for these types of devices. It's been something that I've always looked at with this particular phone and just been like, why couldn't, Samsung just increase the longevity here? They've finally done it, and I have no things to complain about from the software side really anymore. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too. Now from the performance side, you're still getting a Qualcomm Snapdragon, chipset on both. On the S23 Plus, you're getting that 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8GB of RAM. With the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, you're getting that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset inside with 12GB of RAM this year. So you're getting an increase in RAM this year for this type of device, which I think was very, very important. I think that was probably one of the most important things that Samsung did here, increasing the RAM, because last year, actually the last 4 years, they've been keeping the RAM the same amount of, the same amount for the most part. They never increased the RAM, which is very weird. Now we have the option of getting 4GB more RAM on the base model without even having to go and spend more money on it. So that's a really cool thing going on for this particular device from that perspective as well. Now, I would tell you from the performance side, for both of these phones, very, very good performing devices. These are solid performing phones. And once again, that's a very cool thing going on for this type of device, is that you're getting these types of devices that are giving you very solid performance. So that's something I love about this phone, is that you can easily just go ahead and no matter what you do, have a phone that's going to be supported for a long period of time on the S24 Plus, and it's also going to give you very, very solid performance from that. I still think the S23 Plus is a very good performing phone. Really, no matter what you're going to do with it, you're going to be getting a very solid experience, which is amazing. But if you do want the better performing device in mostly every single way, the S24 Plus is probably going to be the way I'd recommend majority of people to go and kind of buy that phone over the S23 Plus. So also battery life, it's basically this, it's a little bit of an increase here. So you are going from a 4700 mAh battery on the S23 Plus to a 4900 mAh battery on the S24 Plus. So that's a slight increase. Again, I love, smaller increases, I'll take anything, to be honest, but that's another advantage going on for that type of device as well. So to kind of sum it up, what I will definitely tell you is between both of these devices, they are very, very good phones. You can't go wrong with either one. The advantage of the S23 Plus though, is that it is a little bit of a cheaper phone. So you can easily go ahead and find that phone all over in the used market and just buy that phone, and it's not going to cost as much. It's probably going to cost half as much as a brand new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, but in every single other way, the S24 Plus is a substantially better phone. This device is giving you insane capability and insane quality, and I think that's easily probably one of the better phones I could probably recommend this year. It's a really good phone, and if you want to wait, you can wait until it goes down in the used market a little bit, but it's such a good phone, and I'm a massive, massive fan of that device for sure. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.